gentlemen.
Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good Wednesday morning, Bakersfield, surrounding communities, and everybody watching online on YouTube and Twitch. This is the Early Bird Special right here on this 20th day of August. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky cannot talk at the moment because there's someone behind him.
That's Dr. Corey Gonzalez that you're seeing on camera.
He's lucky it's his birthday today.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Dr. Corey. Forgot my burrito this morning, but happy birthday. Sparky, let them know what they're in for today.
Oh, we'll be talking all sorts of things like we usually do. We're going to actually kick off the show with some baseball news. Really, baseball news. We'll talk baseball. We'll talk football. We'll talk college football. We'll get into some WNBA news, plus some even more different miscellaneous stories. And just a big shout out. Happy birthday, Corey G. He shares a birthday with the Dimebag Daryl, Fred Durst, Robert Plant. So you're going to hear some rockin' music today right here on the Early Bird Special. And if you'd like to jump in and throw in any comments or questions, you know how we do it. Text in anytime at 661-842-2000. And before we get into, baseball news, 1, good job for the Phillies. 2, the Mariners need to wake up, not only this series, but the series before that, as the Astros are falling apart and the Mariners just can't get those couple wins.
Here's the thing, though. You're still in it. You're still red hot. Unfortunately, you lose one of your players for a little bit, too. We'll get to that in a second because we talked about it on Monday a little bit, but some of you may not have been following it ever closely until yesterday when the punishment actually came down. However, baseball is in full swing. We are ready to go for the playoffs. We're T-minus 40 games and counting for most teams.
Some of us are.
I'm ready. I'm excited. This is the peak time for baseball season. Everybody's paying attention to it now. The Yankees finally hit some home runs yesterday. The Dodgers woke up and beat the Rockies. The Padres figured it out. The Phillies figured it out. I mean, everybody's kind of warming up to this entire season and this entire playoff run. I'm excited. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about the Astros real quick because Sparky already alluded to it very quickly there. But
28 scoreless innings and running.
Is anybody crying over this?
I'm not.
Outside of people in Houston?
I mean, my fantasy team is, but that's fine.
I know Mattress Mike is probably not very happy about this. He may not even offer free mattresses this year. That's how heartbroken he might be. I don't think this is going to last very much longer. Don't get me wrong. The Astros are a team that'll warm up at some point. But here's the thing, though, for all of us baseball fans who are still a little scorned over what happened a couple years ago, I think I could speak for all of us when I say, I hope they don't. I hope that this continues throughout the rest of the season. And
I'm with you.
Right into the dirt. Right into the dirt.
Yep.
And I just, again, 28 scoreless innings, though, is a considerable amount of time when you really look at it. And for a team that is as talented as the Houston Astros, you would assume that they'd be able to figure this out. But maybe it's like the whole Kyle Tucker thing we brought up yesterday with the Cubs sitting him during this entire stretch of his struggles and woes, even though he is very vocally unhappy about it. Sorry, kid. What are they supposed to do? Let you ride it out and hopefully continue to lose baseball games, especially when you're taking on the number one team in the division right now in games you need to win.
And when fans are booing you.
Yeah. I mean,
it's probably time to do a little change.
Your contract negotiations are already being done for you, kid. And it's by the fans. Because if you don't pick it up, the fans aren't going to want you back. And that's saying something for Chicago. We've seen a lot of players get booed out of Chicago-based teams in the last couple of years, especially the ones that are supposed to be the faces of your franchise. So Kyle Tucker in this situation is a little bit different. Obviously, just one player compared to the entire team of the Houston Astros. But I think I speak for most baseball fans, especially Dodger fans, when I say, yeah, don't care.
Yep.
Hope you continue that streak. I hope it hits 58 for all I give a dang at this point.
It's the first time they've had a long drought, whatever, until 1991. And I hope I'm going to second that. I just hope they continue to lose. And
well, it benefits your team as
hopefully,
well. Seattle
continues. If they win.
Well, again, with you losing and them losing at the same time, it really doesn't make that much of a difference. You're still only a game or two away. You'll be able to turn that around here at the last 20 games of the season, I'm sure.
I've been saying that since 40, so we'll see.
That's fair. And then if you're looking at the Dodgers situation, who are kind of in a similar situation to the Astros right now, 1-2 games ahead of their division rival, who are right around the corner from playing them again. You needed that win yesterday. And I didn't get to watch the game, but I was told by multiple Dodger fans, not only a host in our sister station over here, repeatedly yesterday, there needs to be roster changes. I don't know if you need to go that far. Depth chart is, moving Teo out of right field doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because usually your right fielder is the one that's the least defensive savvy, I guess is the best way to put it. You want a speedy left fielder and a center fielder that can cover some ground. Teo really can't be that guy in either of those spots. So unless you're planning on moving him to a DH and having Shohei play outfield again, I really don't see a lot of movement in that area. The Dodgers were able to turn it around yesterday, beating the Rockies, as they probably should have in game 1, to be honest with you. And unfortunately for the Dodgers, the Padres figured it out yesterday against the Giants, ended up winning 5-1. So both divisions in the AL and the NL Wests continue to be probably the most competitive that we are going to see going into the playoffs. A lot of these other divisions are starting to distance themselves from their competitors. The Phillies are ever, distancing themselves from the Mets. Same with the Brewers from the Cubs. So really it's going to come down to the West as the most exciting part of this, which if you're a West Coast fan, that's a good thing for you, because that means your baseball teams are going to be on TV a ton here at the end of the year. And I'm going to echo what I said the other day. This final series between the Dodgers and the Mariners at the end of the year might end up being bigger than people realize.
Yep. It's going to come down to that. As long as they can wake up, and I know they've got the A's after the Phillies, and then we get a long series with the Padres.
And again, don't forget about the Cincinnati Reds right now, who are right on the tails of a lot of these teams. We are going to be boiling down here in the final month and a half of baseball, that these series, especially for teams like the Dodgers, the Astros, the Mariners, everybody in the West, really, all of these series are must wins. And unfortunately for teams like the Padres and whatnot, they have a rougher road than others. So it's going to be interesting to watch. I still have faith in your team, though, Sparky. I think
me
Seattle
too.
Just has
just the Dolphins on the diamond. So we'll see. I know how to pick them, but yes.
I was just about to ask that. Is it you or is it
me.
the team?
It's me.
It's
my basketball team, my baseball team, my football team. There's a reason I don't grow my hair out, because I would have something to pull. But speaking in some positive baseball, I know there's a lot of Yankee fans out there, and hitting 9 homers, not once, but this is the second time in the season.
Now, if I'm remembering correctly, the first time was when we were talking about the torpedo bats.
Yes,
correct?
In the beginning of the season.
Yes. For a struggling Yankees team that looks like it was swiftly playing itself out of a playoff spot, it's a good sign. The bats are starting to pop again. You get Cody and all these guys hitting multiple. I love seeing teams like the Yankees get there, because obviously that means that viewership and
it's good
all
for baseball.
That's great for baseball. Right now, you need to start competing against teams like the Boston Red Sox and the Blue Jays, though.
Which they'll play the Red Sox this weekend right here on ESPN Bakersfield, a doubleheader, Saturday and Sunday.
Fantastic. And with key players out for the Toronto Blue Jays, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. with a groin injury, now is the opportune time for these teams to actually start hitting the dirt and winning these games to potentially take that division lead back from Toronto, who also is notoriously known for kind of falling short at the end of the year.
Well, I was going to sprinkle in, there was some weird news yesterday. Boone came out saying that Judge was injured and they might take him out of the playing in the outfield and this and that.
And then ends up crushing his 40th home run.
And then he turned around after the game last night and said, I don't know what he's talking about. I'm feeling 100%. I'm feeling great. So I wish he would have talked to me before he went to the media.
There's been a lot of that lately.
Stirring it up.
I'm going to compare this to something that's not necessarily the same thing, but it is people talking in the media that probably shouldn't be saying anything.
There's a lot of us.
Aaron Boone, now don't get me wrong, Aaron Boone has every right in the world to be giving updates on his players. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I kind of agree with him. Why would you not go to Aaron first and say, "Hey, how you feeling?" before I go talk to the media and tell them you may not be playing tonight because that's what the doctor just told me.
And that sprinkles into all sports. It's
Yes.
something we'll probably talk about a bit later with other players like Arch Manning.
There,
We
yeah,
we
because that
saw
was the
the same
comparison I was
thing.
just about to make.
Yeah,
Is apparently we've been fed some misinformation about Arch Manning's future when it comes to the Texas Longhorns, and we'll get to that in the 8 o'clock hour because I mean, there's a little bit to unpack there.
yeah. I mean,
Apparently,
it goes along with other players and their fathers talking for them. Where
mhm.
players have came out and like, dude, I don't. This fool doesn't talk for
And
me.
I have said this forever, and I'll say it again when we get to this topic later on in the show. We said it with Nico Iamaleava a couple months ago when it came to him in Tennessee. Know who's representing you, know who's talking for you, and just because it's your daddy doesn't mean it's a good person to talk for you in that way.
Same thing with the Asante Samuel, and I
Not
mean, there's all sorts
everybody
of them.
can be LeVar Ball. Okay? LeVar Ball, for some reason, some way, somehow, was able to talk his sons into NBA careers. I really don't know how he was able to talk them into college scholarships at UCLA and various other places, and also somehow got them into the NBA. Your daddy can't necessarily do that for you, too. So know who's talking for you, especially in the media, because it's going to come around to you eventually. And like I said, we'll get to this in the 8 o'clock hour when we talk about Arch and stuff like that. But I would assume, at least being the manager, I don't understand how Boone didn't know that Aaron was healthy. Or maybe he was just saying that to throw teams off. Maybe he's saying that just to have people start, overlooking the Yankees, saying, you know what? They've got key players hurt. Giancarlo's not the same player. Cody's been okay, but he's not the same MVP caliber that we thought we were getting. And Aaron's hurt. So maybe we don't have to worry about them at the final push of the season. I don't know. Maybe it's a strategic thing. But at the end of the day, if you're the manager, I would assume you talk to your player before you go to the media and tell them, yeah, he's hurt. He may not play tonight. And then turn around and crush his 40th home run against the gosh dang Tampa Bay Rays. I almost said Toronto Blue Jays.
13 runs, man.
9 home runs in a game is impressive. It really is. But again, when you are the Yankees and you're probably the most streaky team with a bat in your hand, this could be a good thing of igniting the fire and finally getting you back into the playoff picture. Or we could just have seen the Yankees offense fizzle itself out with one final game.
And like you said, I think these series, especially the one with the Red Sox coming up, I mean, these are some big series that are really going to, space out these teams with the last month of baseball.
An impressive season for the Boston Red Sox as well, with all the scrutiny that they've gone through. I mean, coming in with Rafael Devers essentially as your star player, and then he wanted out very quickly. And ever since that trade, you've had nothing but success, really. You've turned it around with Cora. These young players have made it happen. You signed your future star to a long-term contract, an 8-year extension. Boston's figuring it out, man. I think that they have a good formula here going forward, and they genuinely believe that they're going to make a splash in this year's playoffs. I don't think you'll get very far, maybe out of the first round, which honestly for them would be a successful season, especially coming into this and nobody expecting you to do anything this year. I think if they are able to do that, though, and you get these young players some momentum going into next year, the year after that, you could potentially see the Boston Red Sox back in the World Series picture here in the next 3-4 years.
No.
And as much as a lot of teams don't want to see that or say that, it's possibly true. They are a streaky team, just like I argue to say the San Francisco Giants are kind of in the same realm. You never know what you're going to get from them any given year. But when they're on fire, they're on fire. And they've got the right manager to lead them. This could be a turnaround year for the Red Sox, but it could be a prosperous future for them too. So we're going to be seeing something here brewing in the next couple of years, in my opinion, especially if teams like the Yankees can't figure it out and just continue to try to buy players and make it work that way, which I've never understood why teams believe that works.
Anything but Boston. But we'll take our first break. We'll get to some of your texts. We got some news for Bobby Witt, the Mariners suspension, and Schwarber keeping those bats hot. We'll talk about that and much more. Text or call in anytime, 661-842-2000, right here on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back. Good morning.
Happy birthday to one of the greatest, John Zach Darrell, baby.
That is the one. That is one of my dad's lures. Apparently, there's a picture in my house somewhere of him and that girl.
Nice.
I again, my dad is the one who taught Jonathan how to play bagpipes. Fun fact. My dad was one of the head bagpipe guys at Highland. Honestly, if you had a kid that was in their group, the bagpipes and stuff like that in the past decade or so, you probably met my dad.
I've always
all
wanted to
over
learn
the
that.
place. It's interesting. Growing up with it is not so fun because when you're sitting there on a Saturday trying to enjoy a quiet day and your dad's playing the bagpipes in the garage,
Yeah,
you can hear it everywhere in the
I'm hearing
house.
trumpet, so I get it.
Although, real quick, speaking about dads, I love Greg Kerr. I do. I love Greg Kerr to death. And for those of you who aren't listening on ESPN Bakersfield right now, you probably have no idea what the heck I'm talking about because you didn't hear the promo. Okay, I have to tighten up Greg Kerr. I never thought I'd have to say this. The person he's talking about in that promo about not collecting baseball cards, but collecting Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Okay, first and foremost, I know exactly the interview he's talking about. It's with Matt Strom, Phillies relief pitcher. And it's not Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Don't go and collect Yu-Gi-Oh cards. They do not have the value that you think they do. Who does is Pokemon cards. That's what Matt Strom was telling you to go buy. Not baseball cards, but Pokemon cards. Because Charizard will never pull an ACL or have a DUI or whatever was the joke. So yeah, if you're sitting there trying to be a card collector and you just heard that promo listening to us, do not go buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards thinking you're going to get a ton of money out of them. It's not the same. It's not. I promise you.
And
Stick
there's
to
nothing.
Pokemon.
I almost wanted to call in when I heard him yesterday talking about it because there is tons of value in sports cards.
Well, it
And
is. But
surprisingly, the not the Tommy Johns, but injuries. I almost text in like, if he
It
gets
was-
the DUI, the value goes up. And the sad thing is, like we talked about last week or 2 weeks ago when Hogan bassed,
Yeah.
The value goes up. I know it's creepy, but the value goes up when they die or in the news, whether it's a good or bad thing.
Right.
It's just part of collectors.
Well, the interview was part of the whole situation where Strom was calling out to fans asking for Bryce Harper cards because Bryce wanted to start his own memorabilia collection, especially baseball cards. And that's the point he was trying to make was the value of athlete cards can fluctuate based on how the player plays, or like let's say you have a rookie Paul Skeens card right now, but he goes and has to have Tommy John surgery tomorrow and never plays again. The value of that card just went from a couple $1,000s probably down to a couple $100 because he's never going to play to that level again, right? That was more the point he was trying to make, is that a holographic Charizard is going to stay valuable or even gain in value with time. Whereas a player that potentially could have something happen or, end up being awful at the end of his career could potentially go downhill because of the value of the card or maybe oversaturation of that player having a card or something of that nature. So that's more the point he was trying to make. But I was just trying to say, because I know we got a lot of collectors that listen to the show, and I'm telling you right now, I'm trying to save you the money. Trust me, Yu-Gi-Oh is not the one you want to go.
I didn't know they still sold those.
Oh yeah, no, they do. I am a massive Yu-Gi-Oh fan. Don't get me wrong. I still have mine, but I'm not holding on to them for value purposes. I'm holding on to them just because I like them. Like, if you want to start collecting stuff that will have value and be something you can sell later on down the line, Pokemon, 100%. For some reason, the world loves that stuff. I love the video games, but I don't get the card game at all.
I never got into Yu-Gi-Oh or Pokemon. My wife is a big collector of Magic cards. Yeah.
I've seen that as well.
Again, I don't do it, but I've seen the value. I mean, there's always a collector on pretty much whatever you like. There's a way to collect. But going back to baseball, one is Schwarber.
15 straight series.
15 straight series with a homer.
I've said it for months. I've said it on my social media. Pay the man. Philadelphia, what are we doing? Why are we waiting this long? Put a contract in front of this man's face and say, sign here, sir. As much money as you want, we don't care. We'll allocate it like Shohei. I really do not care. You better keep this man in Philadelphia for the remainder of his career. If this man leaves this year and ends up in Cincinnati or somewhere in the Midwest because that's where he was from or whatever, I don't care if he goes back to the Cubs. No.
Dodgers.
No, he will never be a Dodger. That I can promise. I can
Don't promise
you that.
anything.
I will. I don't know what I would do if he became a Dodger. I really don't. But they have no need for him. They have no room for him. You wouldn't have him anywhere.
Things happen every year, but the Royals superstar Bobby Witt Jr. hit his 100th career home run and the 8th over the 5-2 win over the Rangers last night, becoming the youngest player in Royals history to reach the milestone.
Bobby is a stud. I cannot wait to watch him play for Team USA when we start getting that going as well. Can we talk about that for a second? Because I know Dominican Republic always has the dominant team. I understand that. But America's going to have a formidable squad this year. We got Paul Skeens, Bobby Witt Jr., Mike Trout. I think we're going to be able to pull off something here in the Classic this year, led by a very young stud in Bobby Witt Jr. And honestly, when you look at the Kansas City Royals, I know I was just talking about the Red Sox and how their potential looks for the foreseeable future. The Royals are set up equally as well. Jack Caglione coming up has been a pretty solid move. I wouldn't say he's really shocked the world, but he is definitely looking like he can at least, he could stay up in the majors for the foreseeable future. Bobby Witt, obviously being one of those guys that's never going to go anywhere. If the Royals could ever figure it out to keep these guys there long term, I know they're a small market team in baseball that just does not bode well for you. You can't keep guys like this, at least multiple guys on the team for that long. We could see the Royals start to make a little bit of a push here in their AL Central as well. I mean, I know the Tigers have been a absolute dominant force the last 2 years, but the Royals have been able to play them very, very well all year long. And with these young bats coming up, it kind of reminds me of what Toronto has been able to do here in the East. Toronto, although had a lot of these guys at one time that were nepos and stuff like that because their dads played in the league, Bo Bichette being one of them, and I know that some of them have been moved off, but I think that they had a lot of hype when they were younger, hopefully with people hoping they would be able to dethrone teams like the Yankees early. And I think that's where the Royals are right now as well. They're boiling up where people are going to start giving them that potential that they could be that team, especially with Perez and all them still on the squad. I think that they could somehow make a splash. Obviously not this year. You're not going to make a run in the final 40 games, but unless they somehow turn it around, have a Brewers-like comeback. But I would assume next year and the year after, once you start getting a lot of these prospects up there, we're going to see the Royals in a completely different light here next year. I know, again, I'm speaking in the future terms because obviously the baseball season is still here and we're still in full swing. But when it comes to the Central, I feel like the Tigers have this wrapped up. I mean, they've already got a considerable lead, and unless they have one of the worst falling outs I've seen in baseball history in the final 30, 40 games, I don't think that's changing. So,
and the Mariners outfielder Victor Robles has got his 10-game suspension for losing his cool and throwing the bat in a AAA game.
I stand by what we said on Monday, though. If a pitcher could throw a ball at you, you should be able to retaliate in some way. Now, within reason, we don't need you killing each other, but the bat was nowhere near the pitcher.
No.
Although I guess if you do open up that door, we're going to have somebody throwing a wood.
Well, it's only going to get worse, but it was entertaining for a AAA game. Obviously, the suspension.
Should we allow fighting in baseball?
Yes, and it won't even really do anything unless once the Mariners bring him back up into the active roster, then the suspension will happen. But I would enjoy it. Why not?
Would baseball be open? I know this is a dumb question because I know it's a no, but I feel like if baseball was open to a one fight per team per game option, you know what I mean? Like if a pitcher, I mean, Philly had it happen the other day when I think Alec Boehm had gotten hit 2 or 3 times in a game.
3 times. I saw that.
Yeah. And he was just like, look at the umpire, like, dude, what the
am
hell?
I supposed to do?
Like, I feel like that right there should be a complete okay for him to say, you know what? Boxing, let's go. We're like, I'm throwing at somebody. You're throwing at me, so I'm throwing at somebody.
You know what? Put a penalty box on the side.
Exactly. There's some sort of like I don't know, like you allow it for one player or one time a game per team. I don't know, but I feel like baseball players should be allowed to get some sort of frustration out because there's been a lot of it lately, right? I mean, we saw the Tommy Pham situation just the other day with the Blue Jays. I meant to bring that up yesterday because Tommy Pham is well known for having a little bit of a fiery nature to him, so much so that he slapped his own teammates in the back of the head for fantasy football stuff.
Point of Giannis.
There is some mounting frustrations with a lot of these guys. I feel like if you give it an outlet, baseball might get exciting again. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Imagine the viewership
Put it in a
spikes you could
box.
get if you have some sort of hockey-like rule
Yeah.
where you allow fighting one time per game.
I would sign up for the 90-second box.
Oh,
Put them in a
100%.
box. Let
You
them
would
fight it
allow
out.
pitchers to actually trash talk more, I think, because you can
start
get
miking them.
Exactly. I think this would help. I think this would benefit baseball a little bit. I know we're traditional in the baseball world, but let them fight a little bit. Let them say, come on, let's see if you could take me on. We saw it with Tim Anderson and Ramirez a couple years ago.
Let the Savannah Bananas start it up.
Well, I mean, again, Savannah Bananas have been able to do some great things with their organization. So much so they're selling out baseball stadiums and now Disneyland, believe it or not.
Of course.
I enjoy watching the Savannah Bananas, though. I've been saying this forever. I know we have a listener that loves to give me grief anytime I bring up the Savannah Bananas, especially when it comes to the All-Stars weekend.
I
apparently.
tried.
I don't know. I don't get why
I can't
y'all
get
are
into a
so.
full game.
Well, no, but I mean, like, it's still fun to watch when you're just saying, you know, what's on TV, and it passes on. And you're like, okay, cool. You just flip to
It's
catch a
one of
ball.
those things you'd want to probably go to in person and maybe check it out.
Again, it's the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball with actual competition. So there's a little bit more to it, I guess. And now there's 4 teams with an expansion on the way. Savannah Bananas, dude, I'm telling you, they're going to be growing here. We're laughing about it, but they're going to be a formidable thing here in the next couple of years.
Well, keep those texts rolling in. We'll get to them at the end of the hour at 661-842-2000. We'll take our break. We'll get into some football news right after this break. We are the Early Bird Special on ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back. And again, as I ask every time I hear this song, what does team spirit smell like? I mean, some of you parents out there could
Oh,
probably
I
tell
know.
me. Not exactly sure what a team spirit would smell like.
Doesn't smell like Old Spice.
No. Well, you would hope it would.
You
At
would
least
think.
Axe, body spray or something.
No,
Something to that.
it's funky. I'll just
Ugh.
tell you that.
All right, well, let's shift over here to the world of football as we normally do. And we have a little bit more information on this entire starting quarterback competition out in Indianapolis as Anthony Richardson has been chosen to be the second stringer, as they will go with Daniel Jones for the entire season, as the head coach told us yesterday in a press conference. However, they also said the future for Anthony Richardson isn't exactly outside of the Colts organization. They said he didn't necessarily have to win the quarterback job to stay on the roster. Anthony Richardson's agent seems to think otherwise. He says that he is unsure of the future that he has with the Colts. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't necessarily believe that he is going to be the starter in Indianapolis anytime soon, unless Daniel Jones comes out and is awful. I know a lot of people were talking about it yesterday, saying they need Anthony on the team just in case that is a possibility, because who knows what could happen with this Colts offense under a Daniel Jones leadership. We could see him bounce back and be the next Baker Mayfield, or we could see him crash and burn like we've seen a couple times with other quarterbacks as well. So I know a lot of people believe that Anthony Richardson can still step into that role and be the quarterback for the Colts. We have been very outspoken on this show where we do not believe that from what I have seen.
I think Boydston's the only person I've ever heard
That
say
actually
that.
believe that. Yeah.
I never thought he could after that first season, and he's missed a ton of time.
Yep.
And it seems like his stamina is still not up. But yeah, going off of what his agent is now blasting the Colts for it, maybe. I think we hit it right on the dot yesterday, because I think maybe they need to maybe give a call to Atlanta or look and wait another week and see what other veteran quarterbacks
maybe
could be available.
Kenny Pickett.
Exactly.
If he's available if Cleveland doesn't want to hold on to a fourth quarterback, I have every time I think about this, the more and more I'm kind of thinking about the last couple years in the draft, and we're hearing about a lot of these quarterbacks like Anthony Richardson or Mitch Trubisky and all these guys who really don't have a long history of starting in college football. Because Anthony Richardson was drafted number 4 overall after only playing 13 games at Florida. I mean, Mitch Trubisky, same thing when it came to him being drafted very high in the draft. I think he maybe started a year for the Tar Heels, North Carolina Tar Heels. And again, I argue this, before Bill Belichick got there, have we ever seen the North Carolina Tar Heels as a formidable football organization? Do they play teams that are formidable organizations that you would say that you could actually compare his 1 year there to an NFL level competition? I would say no. Now, Anthony Richardson, kind of in a different realm here, going to Florida, playing against SEC football. That has been very widely known as the hardest version of college football. But it's still 13 games. That's a small sample size. Is this going to go down, in your opinion, Sparky, like mine, as a deterrent for a lot of these teams going forward in the draft when you're scouting these guys, especially at the quarterback position, where if you haven't started at least, what would you say, a year or two at the position, that they may not consider you for a first overall draft selection? Because to be honest with you, it may not be worth the chance anymore. When you look at guys like Anthony and Trubisky and all of these busts that have happened in the last couple of years at the quarterback position, I mean, can you honestly say any of them in the last decade, or I shouldn't say decade, 5 years, outside of maybe Trevor Lawrence is,
and that's a reach.
Is really a sustainable answer? Because
I think it's really just on. I mean, I could see what you're saying. I also see the difference of the fit with the player, the fit with the setup of what they're coming into. You know, what we've always thought of is, you know, the first pick or the first quarterback off the board is going to automatically start.
Right.
And maybe that's something that teams maybe look into, depending on, you know, how Cam's going to look this year. But I mean, even the situation, I think the Colts just got it wrong when they threw him in early and
You think
hasn't
they should have waited on it?
able to grow. We've seen other quarterbacks, even later picks in the draft, that got a year or two under their belt and got to see the speed of the NFL, got some preseason, got some camp, and was able to make a career at that position. And we're seeing it with, people in Chicago already ready to freak out if Caleb doesn't,
Right.
succeed this year.
And that was the example I was going to make here is you look at situations like that with Caleb and with Jaden Daniels, and obviously you see a lot of success with Jaden and CJ Stroud. And I get that. That's not what I'm saying. Those are the outliers here. But the vast majority of the first round quarterbacks that we have seen don't pan out or haven't been panning out. And it's mostly because I feel like they come in with all of this hype when they haven't really shown that ability in the college game either. Like, don't get me wrong, I get that potential is always there, and potential doesn't necessarily show from a professional to a college standpoint just yet. But when it comes to guys like Anthony Richardson, Mitch Trubisky, and all of these guys who maybe had a season under their belt as a starting quarterback, haven't really seen one be successful. Now, when you get guys like Trevor Lawrence, guys like Jaden Daniels, who have been starters at least in certain areas throughout their career in college, usually it works out. So I feel like just if you haven't had a sustainable amount of games in college, I don't think pros should be looking at you as a first overall draft choice.
Yeah.
I mean, you may have a lot of potential at the position, but so did Joe Milton.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So why is it that Anthony Richardson was seen as a huge prospect, but guys like Joe Milton, who arguably, I would say Joe Milton might even be a better quarterback at the pro level right now than Anthony Richardson is. So I don't know. I feel like it's a weird comparison. Obviously, you don't have a lot of sample size there, but I feel like this is going to end up being one of those big old question marks for NFL teams going forward in the draft selection of, should we even look at this guy if he hasn't had more than a year at the position?
And this is what Anthony Richardson had to say after being named the backup quarterback.
You got to respect the decision. I feel like he's a better fit for the team, better fit for the outcome of us winning. So you just got to respect it and just keep working. That doesn't undermine any other work I've been putting in. Doesn't say that I haven't improved. I'm proud of the improvement I've made. Shane is also proud of that. So you just got to keep stacking on that and just keep getting better.
And obviously your agent is going to always speak up for you, and they want you to be the best so they get paid as well. But do you see a future if this doesn't work out in Indy and they move away from him? I mean, do you see him fitting as a backup anywhere else?
I mean, I think if he is a backup, he could stay in Indy as a backup. I genuinely think that might be the case of where they go with this. It's just,
if that agent doesn't burn those bridges,
that's my problem. And again, it stems to what we're going to talk about later of representation and all of that. And I get why the agent is doing this, because he wants his guy to play. He wants his guy to make money, because that means he makes money. But when it comes to Anthony Richardson, again, I've heard it on almost every show. All the Colts were looking for when it came to this was some sort of improvement. And if they at all would have seen some improvement, he would be the starter right now, which tells me the same story as last year. Poor accuracy, poor decision-making probably. And although the answer we just heard shows a little bit of maturity growth in him, and I like that. And he's still one of the younger quarterbacks. He's younger than Cam Ward. He's younger than Caleb, I believe. Like he has time in the league. But that's my point. Is like, I don't know if you could really chalk this up to the Colts mishandling him, or if he really just wasn't that good of a prospect to begin with.
I think they knew going into this season that he wasn't going to be their starter.
No, I think so
that's
as well.
why they overpaid Daniel Jones. And I think it was written on the wall already. And I think that was just their way of, okay, well, surprise us.
Especially with what Steichen had to deal with last year. I mean, the coming off the field because he was tired, and, the having to bench him to kind of mature him in that way. It's like we saw that happen twice last year with Bryce Young and with Anthony. And honestly, we saw two different outcomes when it came to that, right? Bryce came back on the field and looked like the number one overall pick that he was supposed to be in Carolina, and actually gave them some hope. Anthony comes back in now with this entire quarterback competition and flounders again. So it's like, I don't know exactly if it's a maturity problem for him. I think it's just you may have been wrong on the scouting report.
Yeah, and we'll see in a couple of weeks. They kick off the season against the Dolphins, and I know that's the big game over at Lucas Oil, because that's when they're gonna
Mhm.
dedicate all the ceremonial deal for Ursay. So we'll see. I'm sure we'll be talking more Colts when this comes out, because I think it's far from over. Knowing Daniel Jones and his past at quarterback, I wish him the best. But
I would be very interested to see if he can turn this around and be the next Baker Mayfield. Because that's what a lot of people are kind of seeing this as, is his opportunity to do that, right? And Daniel, at least you know he can run. He has been able to win some games for you when he was a New York Giant. I don't know if the lack of success in New York was based on his play. I think it was, to be honest with you, or if it was based on just poor management by coaches. I guess we'll find out here when Steichen takes over and tries to make something out of
that's
this.
what he was asked yesterday. What makes this team with the Colts any different than what they're expecting from how he played in New York?
Daniel, obviously you came here for this opportunity. Why do you think this could be different than what we saw over the last couple of years with the Giants?
I think every situation is different. Every season's different. I'm growing and developing as a player constantly, and I think so a lot of things go into it. I think I'm prepared and will continue to work hard to prepare.
And again, Daniel Jones is another one of those guys that I was kind of alluding to when it came to a small sample size against a college competition that really wasn't that great. And again, we're going to find out if the scouting report on him was legit when he was scouted, or if they just simply got it wrong. I'm starting to believe that unless you have a considerable sample size in the college game at the quarterback position, I cannot say that you are worth a first overall pick anymore. I really can't. It's just these one and done guys. And it's not like they were one and dones because of their age or how good they were. It was just they came into a job in their junior, senior year, did good, and got the opportunity for a nod. So you take it. I get that. But I don't feel like that should automatically throw you into the first round just because you play quarterback.
Just because you're the big name of the quarterback in
Yeah.
that draft. We'll take our final break of the hour. We'll get to a couple texts to wrap up the hour, and then we'll get into some other NFL news at the top of the hour. Plus, we've got some more WNBA news right here on the Early Bird Special.
Welcome back.
$77 old.
Still one of the best guitar riffs, too. Love this song. Ugh. Oh, God. We got plenty of text messages to get to, though, before we get to the bottom of the hour here. What we got?
The first one says, read this morning that the Packers are in talks with the Vikings to trade for Romeo Doubs.
I have
With
heard this.
Addison and missing the beginning of the season. I've also read that Romeo might be released
Yeah, I've heard
if they
some
don't find a
interesting-
trade partner.
which is an interesting move. I mean, when we talked about the Packers last year, and even really the year before when Romeo was a rookie, they really were on the upward when it came to the wide receiver room. I thought they were going to be able to make this work, but I guess bringing in a new wide receiver one didn't sit well with him. You're not necessarily going to be a wide receiver one if you end up in Minnesota. So you probably won't be wide receiver two once Jordan Addison comes in. You'll be playing the slot, which for him would probably be a benefit. So I have read that as well. Although you know how I feel about interdivision trades. They usually don't happen. Not a lot of teams are willing to boost their rival. So I highly doubt that Minnesota and Green Bay find some sort of trade for this, but I would not doubt if the Packers just end up dropping Romeo once the roster cuts come and he ends up on a team like Minnesota.
The next one says, I think the Dodgers are about to go on a streak and Ohtani will be ready. He'll be 100% to
You're poised
pitch.
for it. You are poised for it. Again, 100% to pitch is still up in the air. We're barely busted into 5 innings. So let's calm down on that. But he will be at least available for you in the playoffs. And I'm going to harp this again, just because when the playoffs come in, it's now a 3-man rotation. So you're not even going to see a 5-man. Good luck with that. And it worked for you the last time you guys won a World Series when you put Julio Urias as your closer. Guess who would be the perfect closer in this situation?
And the other one says, how do you guys feel about fans switching teams? I've been telling my Cowboy fan friends that I wouldn't judge them at all if they decided to jump ship.
Fandom is a choice. So I am never against somebody who chooses to be a fan of a different team. My little brother, Jacob, although he will deny this until the day he dies, I don't know if he's listening to me right now. They're actually about to start class, so I highly doubt it. He grew up a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, a Bears fan, I think at one point he was a Broncos fan because of our aunt, and now he is a Buffalo Bills fan. So I have met plenty of people who bounce around. Personally, when I was growing up, you got a lot of grief if you decided to leave your team. So I stuck with mine and through the bitter end, baby. And I am a glutton for punishment. I realize this, but I usually don't have a problem with it. What are your thoughts?
I'm old school. You keep with your team.
Yeah.
You stay with your team. And I get it. There's certain fans that they like the colors. They don't even watch games. When I met my wife, she was a Cowboys fan.
But it's only because everyone around her probably was a Cowboys fan.
And now she sports Dolphins. She's got Dolphin colors in her hair. But
which is fine.
My little brother, diehard Dolphin fan now. But when he was growing up, he was a Packers fan. I called him a cheesehead for a couple years, and he hated it. And after a couple years, he came over to the dark side.
So would you agree, though, that there are certain situations within organizations, like say you were a Washington Redskins fan and you heard all the stuff that Dan Snyder did and you just can't get behind it? I feel like that is an okay reason to leave, right?
I've got a couple fans of diehard Redskin fans, and they did the same thing. Once the Snyder stuff came out, they jumped ship.
Yeah.
And now they are Panther fans. I just give them more respect.
That is a wild choice.
Because they don't jump to the bandwagon team.
True, but you chose the worst team.
They lived in Carolina.
Oh, okay. Okay. If you live in Carolina, I get it. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, no, I feel like there are certain situations that would warrant a team leaving. I mean,
I grew up as a Giants fan.
Yeah, the Clippers
with
situation with the whole, last owner being a racist and all that. I completely understand if a lot of people said, I'm out. I can't support an organization like that, even though he doesn't own it anymore. I get it. Certain situations, especially if you're a Cowboys fan, feel free to leave. Less Cowboy fans, the better.
Left a while back.
I want numbers of how the heck we came to them being America's team. This Netflix documentary better show that, because if it doesn't, I'm confused.
I don't think I could catch myself watching that.
I have a 4-day weekend, so I'm going to, much like I do with most things for you guys, I'm going to watch it so you don't have to. And I'll tell you all about it once we get back next week. We got to take a break, though, pay some bills. We will be back here in the 8 o'clock hour, talk more football. This is the Early Bird Special right here on ESPN Bakersfield. Welcome back. My chair is betraying me again. This is the Early Bird Special, Hour 2 here on ESPN Bakersfield and streaming live on YouTube right now at the Early Bird Special. Go follow us and subscribe. Also, go follow us on TikTok as well. Get some new reels up there. We're fighting with Meta at the moment. Meta don't like us. It won't let me post nothing anymore on Instagram. So our reels are temporarily not going to be up on Instagram, or at least for the foreseeable future until we can get some stuff figured out. But go follow us on TikTok and on on YouTube. We are all over the place at the Early Bird Special and the Early Bird Special official as well. Just look for the little icon there.
I've got a question for you football fans. I caught Von Miller on his podcast yesterday talking about, Brady not being the GOAT, of course, as he played with Peyton Manning for a few years in Denver and fully went right back and said Manning was the GOAT. He is the GOAT, as he pretty much revolutionized the position with pre-snap mastery and blah, 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 blah. I grew up in the 80s, so my GOAT is an old school quarterback.
Naturally.
But let us know, who do you think the greatest of all time at quarterback, whether it was from the 60s all the way until today? Just text it in 842-2000. I know everyone has their thoughts. I hate Brady, but I know he's up there on the top.
Brady's the GOAT. I hate saying it,
but I wouldn't call him the GOAT.
He's the GOAT. I can't say it otherwise. I'm
but
sorry.
You grew up watching Brady.
It's true. But here's the thing.
You didn't watch Montana.
Yeah, that's my thing. I didn't get to go through the Montana years or the LA years or anything like that. Or Marino. So you're right. That is the one thing that I haven't been able to see. However, when it comes to Peyton, okay, throwing this out there. When it comes to people calling Peyton the GOAT, does anybody kind of notice that it's only the people that played with him?
Of course.
It's only really his teammates that call him the GOAT.
And the ones that don't say it's Brady is the ones that hate the Patriots.
Exactly. And the other side of all of this, the vast majority of people who see Tom Brady as the GOAT are the other side of this. The fans of the Patriots, the people who watched him like me growing up and all that. Plus, it's hard to argue the amount of rings and success that he's had. So it makes a lot of sense. That's my only argument when it comes to Peyton. I hated watching Peyton because it seemed to me that every single play he would cry. He something to the referee like, oh, he did this or that. It's like,
well, that was Brady's whole thing.
I know Brady did it too, but see, here's the thing. I didn't see Brady doing that when he was winning in the Super Bowl. When the Indianapolis Colts were playing the Bears and were dominating the Bears, it was not a close game at all. If you remember, we had one touchdown from the Bears in that game. That was the opening kickoff return by Devin Hester. Rex Grossman couldn't sniff the red zone if he wanted to. And Brian Urlacher couldn't stop Peyton Manning if he wanted to. And yet Peyton was still crying to the referees about every single play. I lost all respect for him after that game. I was like, you may have won this Super Bowl, my friend, but the way you did it kind of ruined it for me. And I was over it. After that, I can never call a Manning a GOAT again. Although we have a potential GOAT of college football brewing right now in Texas when it comes to Arch Manning, who we believed was going to be staying at least in Texasville there for a while. I don't know if Longhorn country is actually getting him for that long, though, after what we heard in Media Day yesterday. Because what we heard from Grandpa a couple weeks ago was that Arch isn't going anywhere. He's staying in Texas for the 2026 season. Yeah, Archie came out in Media Day and said, I don't know where he got that information from, although he apologized to me right after saying it.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells me, wow, Grandpa don't even know what's going on with this.
Grandpa talking for his boy.
Again, we were talking about this at the beginning of the show. Know who's talking about you. Know who's representing you and talking for you, and know that it's going to be pointed back at you at any point in time if you're an athlete. It really will. Your girlfriend's cousin's uncle's roommate could say something about you directly because he knows you personally, and everybody's going to run with it. I feel bad for Archie. I don't think it's really something that's negative, though. In fact, him being told, or them telling him that, he was going to stay in Texas for a while was actually a positive, in my opinion, because I don't think a lot of people get to see that. And I would actually like to see Arch stay for a while. I think that it would be a cool thing to see him do stuff that his uncles didn't when they when they were in college, win a handful of championships, win a Heisman or two. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's a positive thing for his career too, but I mean, with everybody pretty much going to be tanking this year for Manning, including the Saints, Colts potentially, the Giants potentially, if Jackson Dart doesn't end up working out. I don't know if he's going to actually stay in Texas, because you can make a lot of money being a number 1 overall draft pick.
Well, that was the thing, is Arch, he wants to be the first Manning to win a national championship,
which he could easily do this year.
And I think if he does, it'll be maybe a year and out. I think if he wins the national championship this year, which they're favored to do, I think we might see him. But, we've seen it with quarterbacks. We've seen it with the Mannings. If it's the Saints or whoever, that's sitting at the first pick, maybe they kind of recollaborate and see, okay, well, maybe we should go for a back-to-back.
Well, and everything that I understand here from the Saints is that their quarterback competition between Shuck and Rattler is still ongoing.
Yeah.
Personally, I heard this yesterday on McAfee, and it makes a lot of sense. Start Shuck. See what you got. Especially if you're planning on, if this doesn't work, you move on to somebody else. Why not find out in the first year? You have nobody that's really a standout better than him, nor a veteran like Cleveland has to be able to pave the way for him. So it would make a lot of sense for the Saints just to throw Shuck out in the fire and hope it works with Kellen Moore. And if it doesn't, you're tanking from Archie. And hopefully you can reignite the Manning legacy down there in New Orleans.
I listened to the interview, and of course, Kellen Moore is kind of backed into a situation where he lost Carr, he's lost this. Now, players want out, players are retiring mid off season.
It's a wash of a season.
And, if Tyler comes out, he said we probably won't even make the decision until a couple days before kickoff.
Probably.
I know Spencer Rattler kind of showed that he could play, but he needed to work on some things. He's in his second year. I don't know. Maybe they start with Spencer and kind of give them a couple weeks to see what they have in a second year and maybe reshuffle everything and put in Tyler. Or maybe Kellen's like, this is my team. Let's see what Shuck's got. And maybe that's another team that can be looking for a veteran. Maybe, the guy from Cleveland. Maybe, maybe we see some different quarterbacks in there. But what we've seen so far out of Tyler, I mean, he doesn't look bad.
No.
But for a 40-year-old rookie,
I mean, again, we're talking about the
your
Brandon
time is
Whedon
ticking
here. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think Spencer has really shown how good of a player he can be on a football field. I know he got a handful of starts last year, but it was a rough going. But that also is what kind of scares me, right? If you're going into this, especially as Kellen Moore, you saw what you got out of Spencer Rattler against first team NFL defenses. You haven't seen that with Shuck yet. And I think the potential of Shuck being a standout is a much more, I guess, alluring idea than throwing Spencer Rattler out there and potentially he kind of just does what he does that you saw last year, right? This is going to be a wash of a season for the Saints. I don't think anybody's really expecting much from the Saints, even though the NFC South, again, like we said during our breakdowns, probably one of the weaker divisions in football this year. I just don't see them winning more than 3 or 4 games, though. And if that's the case, why not start the rookie? I mean, if this is going to be a wash of a year and you just need to see what you have talent-wise, I would throw out the rookie from the get-go, do a Bo Nix situation. If he struggles in the beginning, oh well, see if he can work his way through it. And if he can, you found your starting quarterback. But if he can't, you wash your hands of it. You figure out who wants him next year, and you go draft somebody with the first overall pick. Because I'm telling you, I don't see anything outside of that being the future for the Saints. They don't have the players they need. Like Kellen was saying, players are dropping off like flies, wanting trades or just retiring. Losing Tyrann Mathieu is going to be huge. I mean, Cam Jordan is right on the cusp of that too, unfortunately. Kamara is probably going to be out this year. I would imagine he gets traded at some point, especially if they want to get some value out of that trade. It's just, it doesn't look good for the Saints. So why not throw the rookie out there and see if he can be that shining light of hope for you for the future? It's kind of like what Carolina's been doing, right? They didn't exactly have a lot going into the last couple of years, but Bryce Young was still the potential turnaround point. Now, granted, they had to bench him last year in order for him to actually start playing like the quarterback he is, but those are the parts of football that you have to go and live through. So if you're the Saints, you're already expecting a rough year. Why not? Throw any kind of spaghetti at the wall, see what sticks, and hold on to it,
get
baby.
that guy killed. Well, before we get out of the NFL, we got to bring up Micah. Schefter did his weekly interview with Unsportsmanlike and sounded a little bit different yesterday.
I just think that, Dallas always has drama. Jerry loves the drama. He likes to create the drama. And there's going to be drama with this now and going forward. For all I know, the two sides decide to sit down at the bargaining table and they hammer out a deal that makes Micah the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. Could that happen? Yes. There's zero indication, that that's going to happen, that there's going to be a reverse. And it sounds like at some point in time, whether that's now, after the season, after 2 seasons, it sounds like the two sides are headed towards a divorce at some time.
That changed quick.
Well, again,
I mean, not for us. We've been saying it, but I mean, we had a promo running for a couple of weeks that we're saying, this is perfect for the Raiders. Mm-hmm. Maybe the Raiders jump on the horn.
And honestly, with the asking price, it's probably going to be around the same as what they traded for Khalil Mack, or traded away Khalil Mack for, I should say. I don't know, man. This entire situation with Dallas just felt different. Like, I agree with Schefter. We all know Jerry loves his drama and loves that anybody's talking about the Dallas Cowboys in any way, shape, or form. But this relationship between Parsons and Jerry just seemed really sour. And with Parsons, it's it's even more so because he went to Twitter to explain it all, right? Usually you don't hear Micah talking about anything of this nature. He's a very professional person, and I've never heard him speak out about anything Dallas Cowboy related, period, until now. And I think he genuinely felt betrayed by the idea that Jerry assumed he'd be okay with whatever deal was going to be thrown in front of him. And when they didn't get anything and it was radio silence, and essentially that he was just going to be franchise tagged for the next couple years, it's like, nah, I don't want to deal with this.
I think Micah's a totally different type of player that Jerry maybe talked too much.
Mm-hmm.
I think he dug that hole, and he's been a team owner / GM for decades, and he should know the business better than that. And I think obviously he wants, you mentioned the Netflix show that was released yesterday. He's going to pump up anything to keep Dallas in the media, but I think he might have picked the wrong guy.
Mm-hmm.
But who knows? Maybe this was just a whole spill, and just like last year, they'll sign him 2 days before kickoff. But now that you're hearing Schefter talking about, okay, well, maybe this feels more of like a divorce is coming in Dallas.
When he says there's zero indication of him getting a deal, that's considerable.
And we're a little over a week away from kickoff. So,
and to be honest, with a player like Parsons and you're losing that on the defensive side, Lord, that's going to be a massive, massive shift for the Dallas Cowboys. But where he goes, I don't know if they even get a trade suitor, because knowing Jerry, he might play hardball. He might hold him out and then next year franchise tag him again and just play hardball. We may see Micah Parsons have to pull a Brett Favre and retire in order to actually get away from the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I'm just saying, it's a possibility, dude. Like, I genuinely believe that is going to be something that could be on the table. I mean, when it comes to these kind of strong arm situations, and Jerry, you said it, man, he's an old school guy. He's expecting handshake deals still. And as I've said on this show a couple times now, you can't have that in the NFL anymore. That's not a thing.
It's 2025.
We are far beyond handshake deals. We don't trust that that's a thing anymore. I'm sorry. That's just how society is now. But that's kind of why I believe that this entire thing with Micah is probably done. I think he's fed up with it. I think he's fed up with the entire situation and with Jerry's old school ways, maybe. And we move on. But then again, you might be right. We heard Myles Garrett earlier this year said he will never play for Cleveland again. It's about winning Super Bowls and about winning games, and he's tired of losing.
Money talks.
And no amount of money was going to change that. And like you just said, money talks. He threw a dollar figure in front of him. He said, sure.
Yeah, of course. I'll be here.
Yeah. So maybe that's the same thing with Micah. Maybe if Jerry says, okay, here's a contract that makes you the highest paid player outside of quarterbacks in the NFL. Maybe Micah says, okay, cool. Thanks, Jerry.
How long is the documentary? Maybe it's for the last episode.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he's just waiting it out. Again, this entire thing, though, just felt different to me, though, than your situations with CD and Dak, right? Yeah. Like CD and Dak, especially Dak. Dak felt like he was playing for his career, right? Mm-hmm. CD was one of those things where it's like, okay, you knew he was going to hold out until he got his money, but eventually Jerry was going to pay him because he's the number one target. For some reason, defensive players, and I'm going to tie this into Trey as well, aren't getting paid like they want, or as easily, I should say. You know what I mean? Like, we have Cam Hayward, we got Trey Hendrickson, we got Micah Parsons, all major factors on their defensive teams. We had TJ Watt for a long time too. It is getting to the point where I feel like NFL teams are trying to wage this defensive side of the ball and see if they're actually worth the money they're paying them.
Like they did the running backs a couple years ago.
Exactly. They're shifting the focus of that towards the defensive side of the ball now. And I think, you know who's going to be the first position to really get dinged for this bad? Linebackers. If you really look at the value of your team on defense, to me at least, it goes defensive end, corner, D tackle, probably then linebackers and safeties. Or even you could flip those. Linebackers don't get the love they used to. You don't hear about the Patrick Willises and the Navarro Bowmans, the Brian Urlachers, the Lance Briggs. Like, there's really not that kind of a linebacker anymore, right?
Especially the linebackers that play all over the field.
Right. It doesn't happen very often anymore. So I think they're going to be the first ones that really see that struggle that the running backs had a couple years ago of not being able to get paid the money. But right now, for some reason, we're seeing it more on the front or the defensive front side. But that to me is the most coveted position on the defensive side. So it shocks me that these guys aren't getting paid what they deserve. But it also, I guess, doesn't shock me because NFL owners are trying to find some position where they can, save some money, I guess.
They got to do what they got to do. But we'll take our break. We'll definitely get into some WNBA. I've got your text. We'll take this break and we'll be right back on the Early Bird Special.
welcome back. This is the early bird special right here on ESPN Bakersfield, as well as streaming video live 7 to 9 a.m. every morning on YouTube and
Except Friday.
Twitch. Except Friday. Yeah, we'll be Dark Friday.
I just wanted to bring that up because we are going to do our Fantasy Friday on Fantasy Thursday tomorrow. And our question is, should we do the top 15 at receiver like we did with running back? Or because there is a ton of receivers. Go down our top 15, we pretty much is.
Yeah, it could take a while to go even down to the 20 to be honest. That's why I think top 20 might be a little too much. But let us know what you guys want. 661-842-2000. I think a top 15 would be fair with like a handful of sleepers, maybe, if like we do almost or with the rest of them that we've done so far. But again, as we stated with the running back video, you can go back and watch it right now on our YouTube channel. Wide receivers, especially if you're in a PPR league, you can make a career really surfing the waiver wire a good amount of the time, finding receivers that are just going off every week.
And I know we talked about it earlier. Maybe we need to bring in some fighting into baseball. Maybe we need to do that the same thing with WNBA.
Ooh. I don't know, man. Sophie Cunningham, although now injured with an MCL tear, which sucks, she'll
out for the year.
I mean, this probably arguably the second most favored player on the Indiana Fever team behind Caitlin Clark, who's also out with a groin injury and hasn't come back yet. It sucks to see, especially with the success that they had been having. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure if they would be running for the championship this year anyway, especially with Caitlin dealing with so many injuries. I think it's going to go down to the Liberty and the Lynx again. But it is at least a positive thing to see for the league that they were able to break their regular season attendance record this year, shatter the 2002 record. I think it was over 2,400,000 people who have attended games this year so far.
It's funny. They announced that the day after Sophie goes down.
And again,
come on, there's still some positivity here.
There is. And again, I think this again is just, it's the building blocks, right? You're seeing them being set. People, although the attendance and viewership does go down when Caitlin's not playing, obviously, because it's Caitlin Clark. But when it comes to games in Indiana, 300,000 people averaged. That's pretty good, especially for a WNBA game. So I would say at least this is a positive step forward for the organizations, for all of the league. We're seeing that the Cleveland expansion team just hired their president, so they're off and running as well. I think this is going to build more and more throughout the years, and you're going to see these women finally get paid a little something once this league starts making some money.
We'll see. I know Flail is a big WNBA fan, and we got a text from him this morning saying, with Sophie out for the season, I think they're going into a lockout after a couple months. Ratings tanking. Yes, people are showing up, but the ratings are crap. And they didn't protect by far their two most popular players. What do you guys expect out of that?
Well, again, it's basketball. I don't know exactly what you mean by protect. It's
you can put them in a bubble.
Yeah, you can't necessarily just call every call against, call every little thing against Caitlin. I mean,
she gets a lot already.
I know. And again, that's kind of the problem, right? I mean, we've heard it throughout the season that the players aren't happy with the officiating. Are we really going to make that worse by protecting some of the players? I don't think that's really the route you want to go with this. Again, injuries happen. It sucks, but the attendance is up. Granted, viewership isn't, but that might be because these people are actually showing up to the games.
Because they're actually there.
Yeah. Like, to be honest with you, what's more important, filling out the stadium or being on TV? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care what your viewership looks like. If you're not filling out those stadiums, people aren't going to want to watch.
Yeah.
Because
I don't see them on TV as much now.
No, you never do. And that's my point.
Did. I was seeing them all the time when Caitlin was playing.
Well, that's fair.
She was popping in and out, but he replied with the owners will probably cave and in some capacity, but if they treated like the men's league, this would be over.
I don't think that's a fair statement because the men's league makes money just for that sole reason alone. They can lock out. That's fine. That's fair. I totally understand why you would want to do a lockout. But it all stems back to the same point. This organization, this WNBA, has been losing money, millions upon millions of dollars every single year. And the only organization that has been there to save them has been the NBA. And they're still asking for more. It doesn't make sense to pay you more when there's no money in the industry right now. When you're building something, then we can get there. But I don't know exactly what a lockout is going to do. But you're probably right. They're probably going to cave because no basketball means no money. And they're going to have to do something to keep these women happy. So I don't know
think
if
the
that
lockout's
means
coming.
I agree with you, but I don't know if that means you're going to have to go to NBA situations and pull money from them just to give more. But they've already given enough to keep them alive. I mean, we're talking about an organization that was losing $20 to $40 million a year. Like, you're not exactly a cash cow.
Yeah, and I would still reach. I couldn't tell you how the future of the WNBA is looking. Whether they can blow up and say, we're getting more people at the games, the viewership is crap, and
But
the players aren't happy, and there is definitely a lot more money in college right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know about the expansion. I know there's some big names coming out of this draft coming up next season. Maybe that will help. But with the players upset, not only with the officiating, but with the pay.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, just like any business in the beginning, when they're building something, I mean, it usually takes a few years before you're even in the plus.
Mm-hmm.
And even when they're seeing these big headlines, players are like, then where's our money? Where's our money? And they don't understand the growth of a business. They're not going to be able to milk the NBA every time they have a financial issue. And that's where it seems like they're headed.
That's one of the main things that I echo from Draymond Green. Because, I mean, we've heard it for the last couple of years from people like Lisa Leslie and some of these bigger names in the WNBA that the NBA should give more. And Lisa Leslie even tried to throw a jab in there saying, well, maybe you guys don't go to the casino once a week. I'm like, really, dude? Like, first and foremost, you of all people should know how this business works. Like, and I think he was right in saying there's nobody on the planet that supports the WNBA more than the NBA players. Nobody. So don't throw jabs at them as if they're not giving enough to you.
Yeah, they're not playing 82 games a season.
They gave you your platform. Most of the owners that own your teams are NBA owners. Like, come on, man. You can't sit there and tell me that they haven't given to you. And I get it that there's frustrations when you don't get paid, man. I know about that. Trust me. But to sit there and demand money when there isn't much going around yet, it's kind of ridiculous. That's why I think that this is actually a bad time to have a lockout, especially when you're breaking attendance records. Maybe wait a year or two.
Until your big names are out.
It's like, well, that's just going to
hurt. That's going to hurt if the playoffs come and not Sophie obviously is out. But if Caitlin doesn't return anytime soon, they're going to feel it.
Well, I mean, the Fever in general are dealing with a ton of injuries right now.
And the Lynx have been losing lately. I mean, it's just all going crazy. But hopefully they could turn it around before the playoffs start and it'll
have
get
a
back
prosperous
into some positive.
playoff run.
Exactly.
I mean, again, if you can make money on this playoff run, I could see a reason to actually lock out. But like you just said, no Caitlin, no viewership in the playoffs. Go ahead and lock out. But what's that going to do for you? How is this going to help you? Because you're not making money.
None of your player lockout where you're teaming up with the player you were just bashing for the last 3 months.
And as I just said, a good amount of the people that own the WNBA teams have stake in NBA teams, which means they're not losing a lot of money by not playing. They're still making the money they were making because, oh, hey, look at that. The NBA team is making a ton. So it's just, come on, man. Like, I get it. It's frustrating that you don't get paid like you think you should. And to be honest with you, all athletes should be paid what they are owed. I am a firm believer in that. But when your organization's not making money, I'm going to harp on it until the day I die. Until that red turns to green and a considerable amount of green, I don't think you can spread that green around to other people. It's just being money-wise.
We'll talk about some other miscellaneous news on our Wild Thing Wednesday right here on the Early Bird Special.
Okay. Ah,
Want to get into some of these miscellaneous stories? You want? We got some text on the quarterback deal.
we can get to the text messages as well. I also sent you something on Instagram. I don't know if we got some breaking news and
I don't have Instagram. Here.
no. We do have breaking news in the world of the WWE as well, but we'll get to that after this last break. What do we got for text message?
Text wise, but says Montana is my goat.
Naturally.
Manning is on my Mount Rushmore, and of course Brady is on there. Elway is my goat for the next one. The next one said, surprisingly, is Favre is my goat.
Okay, for the two of you that picked Elway and Favre, I'm gonna need a little more like reasoning why. Don't get me wrong, it could be your favorite quarterback, and that's enough for me. But when I hear those two names being brought up, when we talk about a GOAT conversation, I can't throw them in it. I'm sorry. I know they were popular. I know they were gunslingers. And when it came to arm talent, sure. But
I think after Elway got his championship is when everyone
kind of just threw him in that
threw him over there
conversation.
over Marino, over the guys.
See, and that's the thing. I wouldn't put, from what I have seen, don't get me wrong, again, didn't grow up watching it, but from what I saw video wise, I'd put Dan over John. I really would. Even though Dan never won one, I don't think one ring should be the one to rule them all. You know what I mean? Like, if you won a ring, fantastic. So have a lot of other quarterbacks.
That's what these GOAT conversations are. We'll never get an answer. One, you can fight over it for years, and it goes into the same sport or any sport.
It's the comparison thing. I mean, it's what we do in sports media a lot. You have to compare to what you've seen in the past. But like Montana, I get the longevity of the success of the dynasty that was the Niners back then, especially between him and Jerry. I mean, Tom Brady, obviously, it speaks for himself. Peyton Manning speaks for himself.
Those three.
Like, they, though, to me, because granted, Peyton doesn't have the rings to back it up, but he's got the stats to back it up, right? He's got the records. So when you combine all of that together, that is why I would put him on a Mount Rushmore over Brett Favre, John Elway, and all those other guys, because he has the stats to back it up as well. Not to mention the longevity of success that the Colts had, regardless of how many times they ran into Tom Brady and the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. It is just, I can't say he's better than Tom because of that right there as well. How many times has Tom beaten him compared to Peyton? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot there. I know Eli was the Manning that was able to finally thwart Brady, but Peyton, because of the record against Tom, the long rivalry between them, and the fact that Tom has gotten the upper hand on him more likely than not. And we can't say that it was due to coaching, because Peyton had a great coach. So that's why I would put Tom above him. But for those of you, especially the Brett Favre one, you got to give me an example of why Brett Favre is your GOAT, because I need a thorough explanation on that one.
I grew up watching Montana and Marino and Elway and all those guys, even Aikman. You know, there was splashes that Aikman was going to be in those conversations, but
do you think that's because of the hype that was the Dallas Cowboys at the time, though?
I mean, they had an overall badass team.
Yeah.
And it was the same thing with Elway. I'm not a Denver fan. I wouldn't put Elway on my Mount Rushmore, but he was one of those 5 quarterbacks, you know, growing up late 80s, early 90s, that was a game changer.
Right.
And it's just one of those where when you get into the GOAT conversation, you got to almost do it in decades.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I've never seen a quarterback play like Marino did. I've never seen anyone sling the ball like he did, but I understand that he's not the GOAT in 90% of the people's lists. But if you watched him live in person and, you know, woke up every Sunday morning to watch the Dolphins, you know, put up 45, 50 points, it was a different time.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it was before, you know, the quarterback league, where a lot of these rules where quarterbacks get protected, you know, when that's why we got to see the crazy games with Elway and Marino and Montana, even Steve Young. You know, the games I watched with him, there was some things that he was pulling out of his back pocket that I'd never seen quarterbacks do.
Right.
But
especially at the time,
when you go over stats, it almost reminds me of, you know, the Kobe, LeBron, Jordan,
Michael Jordan combo.
Yeah, it's just a different time, and they ruled their times while they played. It'll be hard for me to say Brady's a GOAT, but he's definitely the GOAT of his time.
generation. Yeah. No, but see, that alone though would put him over Peyton, right? Because it's the same generation. I agree with you though. I disagree that I think that more people than you're expecting would put Montana in that conversation. I think before Tom Brady really won these last couple rings, it was Montana was the GOAT, right? He had the ring conversation. He had all the stats. And to be honest with you, growing up for me, although didn't get to watch Joe was known as the greatest quarterback of all time when I was growing up in the 90s and early 2000s. So it's not something that is new to me or anything. That's why I kind of feel like there's still a good amount of people out there that believe Joe Montana should be in that conversation of the greatest quarterback. I just think that the end of Tom's career really just solidified himself as that guy, right? He never really fell off in play because we saw Montana fall off when he went to the Chiefs. He wasn't the same guy. Tom goes to Tampa Bay. He's still Tom. The championships, obviously, that he won, the ability to keep himself healthy, the rivalries that he's able to thwart. I mean, he took down even, honestly, the GOATs of this generation at the end of their careers. We're going to be talking about Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and all these guys. He beat Patrick. So there are many instances where you can honestly level it up towards, GOAT of all time, in my opinion. But you're right. I mean, realistically, when it comes to these conversations, you have to break it down in eras. That's why I personally enjoy the all era teams.
Yes. Because
I think that
makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense. Because you're right. The games have changed dramatically in the last 30 to 40 years, let alone back when these guys before then were playing, right? Like you mentioned it already. They weren't throwing the ball nearly like they were today back in Montana's day. So imagine the numbers Montana and Jerry would have today. Like, it really would be a considerable difference. But because of that fact of we'll never know, that's why I kind of agree with you that maybe an all-era team is a better way of looking at, especially football, right? Because football is just one of those sports where you can't really compare the eras. It was just too different.
The Favre fan said 3 MVPs in the Super Bowl. He's at least better than Elway.
I mean, okay, I'll give you that 100%. That's a good argument against Elway. I will allow the Elway fan to rebuttal on this, but okay. I still wouldn't say he's the GOAT. For the Favre fans, since you're still listening, I would love to hear your thoughts on this as well. What were your thoughts when he went to the Jets and had all of the turmoil and stuff with the reporter and all of that just obviously got released with another Netflix docuseries that we watched not too long ago? Did that kind of change your mindset at all? Obviously not.
It did mine.
Because if you have him as the GOAT, I would assume that didn't even phase you, or do you even care about that at all? But I'm very curious what your thought is as a Brett Favre fan, because I do know a couple of you. Don't get me wrong. There's a handful of Packer fans that I grew up with that are diehard Brett Favre fans.
Oh, I know a couple of Earth, man. But
you're welcome, by the way. He was drafted by Atlanta, so
couple text to wrap up. I still have that rookie card with the Falcons.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Try to sell that one. See how much that'll get you.
Probably $6.
Probably.
The final 2 texts. Micah to my Patriots called it a month ago. America's real team, and Brady is the GOAT, and it's not even close.
So Micah to the Patriots is interesting. I don't think it happens just because I don't know if you guys have the cap. Well, no, actually you do. You would have the cap salary to do it. And they have been said to be pretty aggressive
they're open
right
to trade
now.
Top draft picks.
I just feel like they're more likely to pull in someone like Trey Hendrickson than Micah Parsons. But again, I could be completely off base. Maybe Vrabel figures out how to pull in both. God only knows. Because, I mean, when you had Vrabel coming in with this entire new mindset, I think they were ready to win right now. And, I mean, you even got Dolphin fans like Sparky thinking they're going to be the surprise team of the year. So maybe they do. Maybe they pull it off. I just feel like the Raiders making a move for Parsons would make a lot more sense. Plus, you'd be able to kind of right the ship after what you guys did with Khalil Mack and, get the karma going the right way.
And the final message, we'll take our final break and we'll get into these the breaking news. But the last one says, I'm a Raiders fan and I would take Anthony Richardson for a 7th rounder and can see if he can fit in with this Chip Kelly offense.
That'd be an interesting fit. That really, 7th rounder is a pretty low bar too. That's wild to ask, but that is an interesting fit. I think, especially if this Geno Smith situation doesn't work out for you, that could be a good solution for you. But if you're a Raider fan, I mean, you've dealt with a lot of very inaccurate quarterbacks. I mean, do you really want to see a Jamarcus Russell 2.0? because that's essentially what you'd be trading for if this doesn't work out for you, right? If you can't develop him into the quarterback that Indianapolis at least thought he could be when they drafted him for overall. So if you can't figure that out, I don't see this being a positive trade for you, even if you did make the move.
Even if it was a first, 7th rounder.
Yeah.
But we'll take our final break. We'll wrap up the show tomorrow. We'll wrap up the week. No show Friday, but we'll get into our fantasy Friday on a Thursday, where we'll break down our receivers with the sleepers. Plus, we'll have the owner of Bakersfield Pizza Company coming in and talking about how you can watch football, baseball out down there. I took my family down there last weekend. They had a great time. You'll hear more about that and much more right here on ESPN Bakersfield, 1230 a.m.
101.1 FM. Every time I hear this thing, white chicks.
I hate that movie.
What?
I hate that movie.
Oh, the Wayne's Bros. That's one of the Wayne's Brothers' best movies. Are you
No
nuts?
way.
Oh, I love that movie.
And I know I hear it. I guess
Oh,
I'm just old. I just
Jerry
couldn't
Crews was
do it.
fantastic.
Too much.
Easy. It was so good. Oh my god. Oh, I could not disagree with you more. That's one of my favorite comedies. I love that movie so much.
WWE.
Got
What
some
you
breaking
got?
news. We got some news from Adam Pearce, general manager of Raw, who has announced that Roman Reigns and Bronson Reed will be having their grudge match, a Clash at Paris, and hopefully this doesn't,
Shoe-fa-lala?
bleed with some more shoes added to the Shulafala. I would personally love to see that thing stacked out. Don't get me wrong.
Well, they should stack it or hang it
Right, like
like a belt.
exactly, like just all
You
of
want
them
your
of the-
shoes back? Come get
Yeah.
them.
Just throw them up there like a phone or a phone line. I don't know, dude. This entire thing, I love seeing it. Obviously, as you've heard during our wrestling breakdowns, for me, I have talked about it for the last 2-3 weeks. They're doing a great job at boosting these mid-carders like Bronson Reed and LA Knight into the main event scene, while at the same time getting ready for these guys like potentially Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, Seth Rollins, CM Punk, who will most likely be taking breaks at some point during their contracts. So they need to boost these faces of other athletes so you can allow these guys to take some time off like the WWE likes to do. And as I've stated many times, they are the best magicians, I apologize, that love to put something in front of your face that you love, and then boom, it's gone for a couple months and you miss it. And you miss it so much. And then out of nowhere, pop, it's right back as if it never left. I mean, we're seeing it right now with Cody Rhodes, who shared a little bit of a teaser of what he's going to look like as Guile in this movie, and they kept the haircut. This is going to be weird. This is going to be weird to see. I'm sorry. Like, I am a Street Fighter fan, grew up a Street Fighter fan.
That crazy flat top.
Oh my God. And it's a considerable flat top. Like, we're not talking about just a fade. We're talking about a high top. Like, this is going to be very interesting to see Cody Rhodes walk out with that hair. But this movie is going to be pretty interesting. And I would assume it's going to rival Mortal Kombat. We've seen the second trailer come out for that movie. And,
that looks awesome.
Oh, we are getting the Mortal Kombat movie that we deserve. I mean, if you grew up in the 90s with those god-awful movies, I grew up watching them and, lying to myself this was good cinema back in the day.
I loved them.
But it's like Power Rangers. You go back and watch it now, it's like, oh my God, this was awful.
The only
was
ones
so
that really
bad.
stick and are still good are the old Ninja Turtles.
Yes. Those actually I can watch any time of day. Even the bad one, the Ooze movie was.
I love that movie.
See, growing up, I loved that too. I thought the dance scene and stuff like that was great. I thought that was great. It was made for kids, obviously. The entire opening scene where they take out the Foot Clan in the subway, I thought that was really cool.
There's supposed to be a rated R one coming out soon.
Really? That's interesting.
And I'm still waiting on the sequel with the Seth Rogen.
The animated one.
Those looked awesome.
And he did a great job. And I say this all the time because I am a geek in this way. But when we talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, outside of that one with Seth Rogen, very rarely are they actually teenagers.
Yeah.
Like, most of the time, they're actually mid-adult, like in their college years. Like, they're trying to wife up April kind of stuff. And you have to remind yourself, these are supposed to be kids.
Teenagers.
They're supposed to be teens. Like, again, regardless, it's a gripe that I've always had against the movies. But I agree with you. I'm waiting for the second installment of Seth Rogen's entire thing of that. But yes, WWE fans rejoice. Roman Reigns will be at Clash of Paris against Bronson Reed. We'll get into that and more tomorrow. Plus, our fantasy breakdown the week. We'll give you our top 15 wide receivers to look out for, plus a couple sleeper picks for you as well. But until then, we got to get out of here, get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. This has been the Early Bird Special. Go follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Sparky, let's get out of here.